where to even start. Oh my god. I've been wanting to do this video for so long, but I was getting in my head of trying to make it perfect, of wanting to prepare everything that I'm gonna say because there's so much to unpack here. Like, I've been healing my attachment style for the last 5 years, so there's so much things that I want to say. And you know what? Yesterday I was meditating and it just came to me. I was like, yesterday, tomorrow I'm filming the video without preparing anything. I'm just gonna share from the heart. I know what my story is. I know what I went through. I know how I went through it. So I'm just gonna share it like that, like it is. So if you're not familiar with attachment styles, I did do a general video about that. So I do invite you to watch that video if you're not sure exactly what it is or what your attachment style is. Today I'm talking about my attachment style that is fearful avoidant. But wherever you are into like the insecure attachment styles, like this video, you can receive a lot from it because healing is very general in a way. Like, it's not specific to an attachment style or to one concept. Like, the ways we're gonna heal in every aspect of our life always comes back, like always boils down to the same things. And for sure, like fearful avoidants are gonna have their specific traits and their specific challenges. So if you want to make the most out of this, like, grab a pen and paper, take notes whenever something resonates. Like, the healing journey is so intimate. This is my journey. This is what I have been going through for the last 5 years. This is the results that happened for me after addressing all these things within me. I do feel at this point in my life I am almost secure. Okay, I'm not fully secure, as if I've never had an insecure attachment style. Like, I could see sometimes where the fearful avoidant traits do come out, but the progress I've made in the last 5 years, like, the goal is not to get to like the ultimate, like, I'm fully secure as if it never happened before. The goal is to make this functional for you and to live a fulfilling life. And I just want to challenge the idea that, like, there's nothing wrong with having an insecure attachment style. What really contributed to my healing was also to be in full acceptance of who I am, of the traits I have, the patterns I have, the fears I have as a fearful avoidant, and to also see the beauty in it, because every attachment style has some strengths. You know, as a fearful avoidant, like, I do notice how we are very in tune with our emotions. We are very deep. We are very empathetic. We are also very like driven. Okay, we are very passionate about life. We make life a lot less boring. And those are traits I don't want to remove. You know, I want, like, that's what makes me who I am today. And there's so much beauty to who I am, even if I do carry some wounds, even if I do carry some fears. The goal of healing is not to, like, not have a personality anymore. It's just really to live a more aligned life and a more fulfilling life. So I did address a lot of my wounds, but I remain me, and it's okay if there's still some fears that live within you. The goal of healing is never to reach perfectness. So I just really want to highlight that, because sometimes we lose track of the beauty we hold within, and we have to remember, like, that we are a whole package and there's nothing wrong with us. And that's gonna help you to actually heal. Like, healing in a big part of healing is acceptance and love. Like, when you're able to offer yourself that love, that presence, that, like, holding space, you know, that's where your fears can loosen up, where they don't need to hold so tight to survive. Okay, they can feel free, you know, they can feel free to move because they feel supported. And that's where you actually heal. It's when you're able to bring that love to yourself, that acceptance to your whole self without trying to change it. Sometimes when we're healing, we're like, okay, I want to get rid of this. I want to get rid of that. And that is exactly what's keeping it in place. That's what's keeping it stuck there, because we're saying you're not supposed to be there, and we're hating on it, and you're never going to heal through that kind of energy because it's allowed to be there. You're allowed to have these challenges and these things living in you. Like, let's just, like, give it a hug, you know? I might have to do a part 2 to this video because I feel like there's so much stuff I want to mention, and everything is so important and has so much value that I don't want to skip steps, you know. I really want to mention everything that I feel is gonna help you on your own journey and that can awaken something within you. Let's just start, like, how did I discover I was fearful avoidant? So in the last relationship I had, it was from 2017 to the end of 2019. So it was like 2.5 years where I was with this person that was a dismissive avoidant. Initially, I didn't know. Like, I was not aware about attachment styles. I actually did learn about attachment styles when I was studying psychology 12 years ago, but I forgot about it. And I never really, like, asked myself any questions about that. And then I'm in this relationship with this guy that's like full-blown dismissive avoidant but super unconscious about it, and the relationship progressed, like, becoming very toxic. Like, the dynamic was very heavy, and after, let's say, a year and a half, like, I was going through so much anxiety, so much fears, so much pain, and I was like, why is he always pushing me away? So actually, we never were in a relationship. It was a situationship, okay? And like, he never would see me in the way I wanted to be seen. He never would, like, give me the presence I was craving for. And I was always like, why are you doing this? Like, I need more presence. I need more this. And I was always, like, telling him his shortcomings, like, please see me. You know, I was, like, begging. And I was feeling, like, so much anxiety inside of me, like, during that relationship. It was, like, obsessive. Like, it was always on my mind. I was so stressed. I would sleep so bad. Like, it was a very difficult period, and I never questioned if there was something that, like, was wrong with me. I was just seeing him as him being the problem. As a fearful avoidant, we tend to overanalyze everything, every movement, every word, everything, and we analyze people too. But I was really obsessed with everything about him and trying to figure out, why is he like that? So after about a year and a half, I was doing research, I guess. I don't know exactly how it happened, but I fell on something and I was like, oh my god, he's a dismissive avoidant. And I started researching the attachment styles. I'm like, oh my god, this is him. Like, buy the book. It's like, buy the book, dismissive avoidant, everything. And it was like, it was bringing me so much clarity. But then I noticed that, oh my god, I'm a fearful avoidant. Buy the book. Like, everything that I was reading about it, I'm like, this is me. Like, especially in that relationship, because before that, I feel like my attachment style was never triggered to its full potential. And that relationship really, like, brought it to the surface where it was, like, really present. And I was like, oh my god. Then I started watching videos about, like, 𝗃𝗏𝗃𝗃 where she talks about the dynamics between, like, fearful avoidant and dismissive avoidant. And I was like, oh my god, this is us. This is exactly it. So this relationship, during the relationship, it still, like, lasted another year after I discovered the attachment style, and it was really, really painful, and it was just going, like, down and down. And at the end, like, like, I reached a low point that I almost never reached in my life. But I didn't start healing while I was in the relationship, because you can't heal when your nervous system is activated. When you're constantly under stress and anxiety and your nervous system is constantly activated, like the sympathetic nervous system, you can't heal under those conditions. It's like having an open wound and you keep, like, putting toxins and stuff on it. It's never gonna heal. It needs to be in a healthy environment. It needs to rest. It needs to be cleaned out. So it's the same thing as this. Like, I couldn't heal while I was in the relationship, but what it allowed me to do is gain a tremendous amount of self-awareness about myself, about my attachment style, about all my fears, all my patterns that I had that previously I thought were just normal, you know? But then I realized, oh no, this is really coming from some wounds I have inside of me, some traumas I have, and some stories, some outdated stories about who I am. I really use this as an opportunity to get to know myself deeper. I noticed also in that relationship that my boundaries were very, very poor. I had no boundaries. I didn't even know I had boundaries until I exceeded them. The thing that would happen, it would be like a volcano, because now I already exceeded my limit, and then it would explode. And that's a trait of a fearful avoidant. It's very like going a lot in extremes. So it's like completely shut down, completely cold, and then it's completely hot. But it's because as a fearful avoidant, we accumulate without really noticing we do that, and then we reach a point, a boiling point, where we can't keep it in and it just explodes. So that was really me in that relationship. Like I noticed I would just like become super impulsive, super uncomfortable, and really reach a point of like it's big, you know. I didn't want to be like that. I want to be able to be more calm, to be more gathered, to be less in reaction and more like responding, you know. But I was not able to, because I was just always exceeding that limit. That relationship showed me that, and when I finally finished that relationship, I did know I wanted to work on that. You know, I didn't want to be so impulsive, because every time I was impulsive, afterwards I felt like shit about writing this big text or saying this thing, or just the way I was with myself. What I would experience was the pain was so big. It was like so huge. It was like the end of the world. I won't get into too much details about the relationship, because this is not the point. Like the point is how I started healing. So there's basically a point where I fully ended the relationship, because I did find out something that was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. And I really like lost myself. Oh yeah, another thing that I noticed was how much self-love I didn't have. You know, I thought I had a lot of self-love previously, like before that relationship, but being in that relationship showed me how like there's no one that loves herself fully that would stay in a dynamic like that. That's literally killing me. Why would I tolerate something like this? Why wouldn't I put my foot down and say no to this? Like, why am I doing this to myself? And this just showed me how much lack of self-love I had. Honestly, this relationship, I didn't know it at the time, but it's been such a blessing, and it allowed me to evolve so much. And I did know while I was in it, and I'm like, I know there's a reason I'm going through this, but I can't see it. And for the next year after the relationship ended, I couldn't see. I was like, I know there's a reason, I know, but I can't see it yet. And now 5 years later, I do fully see it and I'm so grateful, and I really have no hard feelings about anything that happened. It was meant to be like that. So whatever you're going through, just know that there's a process to living and to healing, and that sometimes like the biggest blessings are, it's not what we expect. It's not what we expect. When I ended that relationship, it was on New Year's of 2019 going into 2020. At that point, I felt like I really lost touch with everything of me. I didn't know who I was anymore. So I would say that next year was mostly me regaining a relationship with myself and relearning what I like and what I don't like. And right after that relationship ended, I went to Hawaii. That was the first thing that I healed, okay? I went to Hawaii. I did this retreat. It was like this yoga retreat. We would have every day a kind of meditation, and there was this meditation, like it's a mantra that's called Ho'oponopono. It's a Hawaiian mantra that is focused on forgiveness. So it says that like there's like these invisible cords between us and other people that create like tension. This mantra is for us to heal these cords. It's really simple. It's 4 sentences. It's I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. The lady there offered a meditation. At first I was like, I need to forgive him. I was like, okay, I'm gonna focus on forgiving him. And there was not much that was happening inside of me, but then I was guiding it towards me. I was like, hey, let me try to forgive myself. And then I was saying these words to myself: I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I started crying and crying. And that's where I noticed that it was not so much about forgiving him for what he's done. It was about forgiving myself for putting myself in that type of situation, for not being there for me, for not standing up for myself, for completely abandoning myself. That was the beginning of everything in my healing journey, okay? It was a huge thing. So definitely something that is so important is forgiveness towards yourself. So I know a lot of fearful avoidants hold shame around the way they acted or the things they said, or just shame for being who they are. And so a huge step in healing is to learn to forgive yourself. You can't heal if you're holding on to all this hate towards yourself. So this was huge. So then I didn't date anyone for the first year, and I purposely didn't date anyone. I really wanted to focus on me, focus on rebuilding myself. So I feel like as a fearful avoidant, if I'm not seeing anyone, I won't be triggered, because fearful avoidants often are comfortable being alone. Like they feel good when they're alone, like comparing to an anxious, preoccupied, which are gonna like search a lot more for relationships and not be comfortable being alone. Fearful avoidants tend to just like enjoy that solitude, you know? And for me specifically, I know that when I'm alone, I'm really focused on my goals. I'm really like, I'm thriving, I'm doing great, you know? And I love like solitude and stuff. So since I was not dating anyone, I didn't really get triggered much that first year. There's some moments where I met someone and it was like a one-time thing or whatever, and it did like wake up a wound. But the real triggers, like the real moments where I could see what was still inside of me, is when I was actively dating someone. Then all these wounds would come up. But the moments where I was not seeing anyone, that didn't come up. And it's good, because I also needed to focus on just like rebuilding myself. And there was a pandemic also happening. It was a weird time. But I was really just more focusing on myself. And there is some person that first year that I had a stalker, and he was doing some really like fucked up shit. I knew who it was. That experience made me practice my boundaries, because I had to put boundaries with this person, and I never practiced that. I didn't know how to put healthy boundaries, because, you know, I often also put other people's needs first and was so scared of asserting myself in things, like people pleasing, basically. With this guy, I had to put boundaries, and it was so hard, but since I knew I had trouble with that, I was like, just do it, okay? This is a practice. This is a mindset shift that can really help you. Instead of seeing everything as a threat or as this is not going well, like you're dating someone and it's not working the way you want, instead of seeing it as, oh, this is an undesired outcome, see it as, this is a practice. This is an opportunity for me to see deeper within me and practice what I preach. Like, this is an opportunity to further my healing. This is what I did in the last 5 years, and what I do in general in my life. Like, I try to always see everything as an opportunity for growth and for healing, and it really makes like all the difference. So every person I date that it didn't go the way I wanted, I'm like, hey, but at least I got to meet myself, you know? So with this guy, I was like, okay, put boundaries. And I noticed how I would do so in a very aggressive way. Now, like when I put boundaries, it's very calm. I don't feel anxiety inside of me. It's just like, hey, this doesn't work for me. And if they refuse the boundaries, well, too bad. This is important for me. Like, I need to respect myself, you know? But at that moment, it was just an explosion once again. But I was like, okay, I'm learning, you know, and I still did it, and it's coming out the way it's coming out. Anyways, when it started to really get spicy is when I started dating again. So in 2021, I started going on dating apps, and the first guy I dated, I think it's him, yeah. There's this guy I dated, we went on like 2 or 3 dates, and it really clicked. And I was like, oh my god, I really like this guy. And then all of a sudden, he was not answering his messages as much. He was like, I noticed there was a switch, and I was like, there's something wrong. And then I went into that loop of anxiety and of huge turmoil inside of me. Like, I barely know this person, and it brought me in such like a uncomfortable place of like, as if like my life was ending. And I'm like, it's not even about him, it's what he's representing, and it's waking up a wound inside of me, a wound of being abandoned, rejected. It's waking up like this fear of like everything I went through in the previous relationship. It was waking everything up inside of me. It's like, oh my god, this is still there, because you know, sometimes you just think it's like, oh, I'm healed, whatever, but no, I was like, man, there's still a lot living inside of me. And then I wrote to this person, I'm like, hey, is everything okay? And then he wrote to me like, yeah, no, I'm not ready to date, whatever. And it really triggered me, and it really brought me into this desperate state. So one huge important thing to do when you're healing, for everyone, okay, no matter who you are, no matter what your issue is, I feel like this is what's missing when people are on their healing journey, is to hold space for yourself. I even made a video about this because I know like this is the essential thing that people have trouble doing that will take your healing to the next level. Holding space for yourself, like for your feelings, because oftentimes we just try to avoid feeling the uncomfortable. We try to run from it. We try to be like, no, I shouldn't be feeling this way. Like, let me be more positive, let me be. And then we're just like shoving it to the side, and we're never truly releasing it. We're never really taking the garbage out. You know, you have to take the action of like it stinks, you take the garbage out, you smell it, and then you have to go through that process, you know? You can't just like pretend it's not there. Holding space, sitting with your feelings, sitting with the pain, sitting with this discomfort, all while bringing love and compassion to yourself and acceptance for your feelings, being like, hey, I'm allowed to feel this way, it's allowed to hurt. Really building like that relationship of self-love and of trust for yourself, because now you're taking care of yourself. This is so important, and I have so much to say about this. Oh my god, this is the main topic of my channel. Like, it's not about attachment styles, it's about healing and this specific thing. So holding this kind of space, and like, so let's say with this guy, I'm triggered, okay? And what I did was I allowed myself to really feel this pain. And it's hard, okay? I'm not saying that it's not hard. I'm almost tearing up right now just talking about it, because it's hard to be in that space with yourself and be like, okay, I'm allowed to feel like this. Let me feel it. Let me feel it all. Let me open this door. Like, it's painful, but it's necessary. And what you get out of it, the reward you get out of it is so worth it. But it often doesn't happen right after. Like, it doesn't happen like instantly that, okay, you heal this, it's liberated, now it's done. There's so much layers to healing, and this is why it took me so long. And throughout, you're gonna see that throughout these last 5 years, like, there was different moments where I had big things to release, which brings me to this point now that I'm actually dating someone that's secure and I'm in a secure relationship. I would have never been able to be in this space before. Like, I see the progression, I see how much I've healed, and now I see the result. But while you're in the midst of it, sometimes you don't see it. Sometimes it's hard to really like know what's going to come out of this, and you have to just trust it. You have to trust the process. Over time, you do get rewards. You're like, oh, I noticed I didn't react as strongly this time. Oh, it was not as heavy this time, you know? But the component of holding space with yourself, of taking these moments to really feel your feelings and telling yourself these things, that it's okay the way you feel, that you're giving yourself a hug. You're the parent you didn't have, you know? You're validating yourself. Okay, this is so important. And you know what happens from this? It's not about like getting into a partnership. It's the relationship you're creating with yourself. That's where like you get results out of it. It's about the bond you're creating with yourself and the trust you're creating with yourself. Like, this is what brings you places. Because every time I held space for myself, I was telling myself, I have got your back. No matter what happens, I am here. So this helped me so much get through challenges and know that it doesn't matter if someone rejects me, because I've got my back. And this is life-changing, because, you know, when you're like in your attachment style, when you're fearful avoidant, whatever, you're so scared of what the other person is gonna do. You're so scared of being rejected, and that's what brings out all these patterns of like push and pull and whatever, that when you're like, hey, I've got me, first of all, you dare more in life. You're gonna try to date that person. You're not gonna be as scared to do it, because you're like, hey, I can always fall back on me. And this is something I reminded myself constantly. Every time I would enter a relationship or I would date someone and anxiety would come up and fears would come up, I was like, it's okay. I would self-soothe. Okay, this is self-soothe. I would tell myself like, it's okay. remember, Stacey, you've always got you. You've always got yourself to fall back on, and I will not let you go. I will not abandon you. Never again. Because that last relationship I did, and I made a promise to myself. I made a commitment to myself. I will never abandon myself. So if you didn't do that commitment yet, do it now. See the cost that you're paying by not doing it, by abandoning yourself, and say, no matter what, I will have your back. It's enough. I will have your back. Okay? This is what I deserve. I deserve to have my back. This is also what allows you to create safety from within, because often we look for safety outside of us. We look for that person that's going to provide safety. You know, we look for that secure person that's going to provide safety, and it does not work. Yes, someone can contribute to our healing journey, okay? But no one can give us something that we can't cultivate within. So that's why sometimes you might enter a secure relationship and you're going to push that person away because it's going to reflect what you don't have within yourself yet. So creating that safety within me is what allows me to now be able to welcome safety into another person. And no one's gonna do the work for me. So this is priceless. It's really about feeling safe of being with myself. If you do have a notepad, do write this down, okay? This is essential. Holding space for yourself. Like, just remember that. Every time you're going through something, be like, okay, how can I just pause and listen? Pause and listen. Instead of run and panic, you know? And this is also what really helped me with impulsivity, because instead of reacting right away, because it's so uncomfortable inside of me, and there's the volcano, and I'm like, oh my god, panicking, I need to fix it, I was like, pause and listen. Feel the volcano, feel it. And that allowed me to afterwards, once the worst was past, to respond, to be like, okay, what is the most aligned way I want to respond now? So instead of sending that text when you're in the midst of the chaos, like afterwards, I was like, maybe the text I would have sent, maybe I don't even feel the need to send it anymore, and maybe what I'm gonna send is gonna be more gathered, and it's gonna come from my true needs, my true essence, and not from my fears and me panicking. Just to put in context, in the last 5 years, I never dated someone for more than 2 months. That was like the most I've dated someone. It was always just flings that never got anywhere, and it was always the same pattern. It was always different people with different like personality traits, and there was always different reasons, but it was always the same thing where the person would dismiss me in any form, okay? And it would always wake up this wound of rejection. Like this was the main theme, and it was such a challenge, because over time sometimes you're like, when is it gonna be different? When am I gonna get on the other side of this? Sometimes it could feel discouraging, and you're like, when am I gonna meet the right person? But I always had to remind myself that if this is happening, it's because I still have some stuff to liberate before meeting the person that I can truly receive. But it was hard, and sometimes I thought I was finished, and I was never truly finished. I did write down just a list of a few things, healing stuff that I did. I just want to review it because I don't want to forget anything. I wrote, look for evidence. What I mean here is that oftentimes we confirm our beliefs by looking for evidence of why our traumas are valid. So if I have a wound of rejection, I'm gonna be like, oh, you see, this person rejected me. That just shows I'm always going to be rejected, and I'm just reinforcing that wound and that story around that trauma, okay? But we can use this and flip it around on the other side. Look for evidence for the things you do want, okay? Look for evidence that there is people out there that will not reject you, and that's gonna love you fully, and that's gonna receive you fully. And you can do that by looking at other people's stories, like some people who did meet their partner and be like, hey, if they can't do it, I can do it too. If there's someone out there for them, there's someone out there for me. And continue to nourish that idea that it's possible for you. Like just watching this video, like, hey, if she healed her attachment style, I could do it too. Look for evidence to prove that what you do want is accessible for you, and it's out there somewhere. Like, I never stopped believing that there's someone for me, that even every time that I didn't get it, I'm like, hey, but I know that my counterpart exists. Like, I know there's someone out there. I just need to be patient here and continue working on myself. So look for evidence. It really helps with reframing and tricking your mind into seeing more of the positive and what is actually there, and being able to welcome it when it arrives. Study secure. So studying the secure attachment style is also something I did from the get-go. Instead of just looking at, oh, how, like, the traits of a fearful avoidance, like, this is gonna help me, yes, to gain self-awareness, but I was like, let me study how a secure attachment would react in this situation to know what my guideline is, like where I'm trying to reach, because oftentimes, like, the way we react is just normal for us, and it feels like this is just how anyone would react. That's how I felt. I felt like anyone would react like this, you know? So let's say the person rejects you because they're like, hey, this doesn't work for me, and then my reaction is full blown. Then I'm like, how would a secure person react here? The secure person wouldn't feel like the other person is attacking me. Like, I would know it has nothing to do about my own self-worth, that this person was just not a match for me, and that there's someone else out there, and it's okay. Like, I've got myself, I don't need to be in a partner, like, I am enough. And then I could feel some sadness from the grief of losing someone, but then I would be like, hey, it's okay, and acceptance, you know? So then it gives you help to know what your goal is, like where you're trying to reach. So when you're in that turmoil, you can try to see, like, how would it feel if I didn't feel like all this turmoil, and I would respond more as a secure person. So it really helped me to give me guidelines towards, like, where I'm going. Next, feel the pain. I talked about it. Build trust and safety with yourself. Boundaries. See it as an opportunity to heal. I did mention this, but I'll mention it again. Everything that happens has a purpose to teach you something. So this is also another mindset switch. Instead of seeing it as, I'm a victim, this always happens to me, this is not helpful for you, because it puts you in a position of powerlessness. Like, you give away your power to external circumstances instead of empowering yourself in every situation and say, like, hey, I'll take this and I'll make the best out of it, okay? And this serves you in every aspect of your life. So continue to see the opportunities behind things, and if while you're experiencing it you can't see the opportunity, it's okay. Just let yourself know that, I know this serves a purpose. I can't see it yet, but I trust that there's something behind this. Okay, let me just hold space for myself, feel my pain, and trust that there's something that I'm going to receive from this. Full acceptance, forgiveness, and positivity. Redefining love. This is so important, okay? As fearful avoidance, we see love, we have a distorted vision of what love is. I know that's true for me, okay? I always thought that love was this big, passionate, high thing, okay? And maybe the stories with Disney and stuff that they feed us when we're young doesn't help, because it's always this, like, oh, this is the prince that's gonna come to save me, and it's always this, like, high thing, okay? But that's not true love. Like, when you look at couples that have made it on the long run, and like a relationship that is sustainable, it's not true that it's always going to be passionate, always going to be high, always going to be like, woo. Like, life, we have to get used to the mundane aspects of life, like just your life with yourself. You can live a fun life, but there's going to be parts of the everyday life that is mundane. And if you plan on spending the rest of your days next to someone, you guys are going to have those moments together, you know? Love is not love. Like, I had to redefine this, and this is what helped me by like studying a secure attachment, but also studying like love in general, like what is love. So knowing that love is stable. It's not the extremes of highs and lows, just like I would experience as a fearful avoidant. It's safety, it's stable, it's soft, and we're not used to it. Like, our nervous systems are not used to this. So it's a process to rewire your brain and nervous system to accept this kind of relationship. And this is what I'm going through right now, you know, because the relationship I'm in now, I've never experienced this. And that's why I say I'm almost secure, because I'm still working through rewiring things for myself, and I'm going to talk about that probably in the part 2 video because it's in the whole other section. But redefining love is something that is really important. So ask yourself, what is important for me in a relationship? And that's how you get to know also if the person is compatible, because I feel like as fearful avoidants, we have a hard time knowing if someone is compatible for us because we only focus on the chemistry and on the energy and on the high and the feeling and the passion, but we don't ask ourselves like, hey, is this person matching my values and my lifestyle and what I want out of a partner? And if you want kids, like out of the parent of my child, and etc. Like finding compatibility is like redefining what that means for you. So this is a really important step further down the line to meeting the right person for you as an insecure attachment style that is moving towards being secure. Self-discovery, dating potential. Yeah, stop dating potential. This is just a general advice. Stop dating potential, okay? I've done that. I dated someone, especially fearful avoidance. I feel like we see the good in people a lot, and we have like these big hearts, and we're gonna see someone and be like, I know he can reach this point. I know this person can reach this point, and you want to save them. There's a bit of that savior complex inside of you, and you're like you're dating this person because of what you see they can be and not because of who they are right now. It doesn't mean they're a bad person, but you have to date people for who they are right now and what they're presenting to you right now, not what they can be. Like this is general. Like I just noticed people just do this, and this is what makes you stay in relationships that are not for you, and you go down the rabbit hole. It's just like, and like, yeah. Okay, I feel like I went through that list specifically. Now, I feel like there's still so much to say, and that's why I want to make a part 2, because I feel like I really wanted to share my story, and I'm not completely done, but I really wanted to focus on that. And then I want to also focus on other questions that I maybe didn't fully talk about in this video, but putting it all in a video feels like too long. I also want to talk about the relationship I am in now and the challenges I'm going through now and how I'm dealing with it. All the challenges that are coming up in getting to this other step of the healing process of actually not just releasing the old stories within, but now creating new stories and actually being in that secure attachment. Because as I said, you don't know what's to be healed until you're in that situation, you know? So I couldn't really work on these things before entering this relationship where these things are coming out, and I'm noticing the patterns, and I'm noticing that the remainings, you know? It's not, the intensity is so different, and it's also showing me how far I've come, and I'm like, oh my god, like the way I'm able to soothe myself, the way I'm able to hold space for myself, it's night and day. I'm so impressed by the journey I've been on, and so like I owe it to myself, and I have so much like honor for how far I've come, and I did this, and I'm so proud of myself. And I know, and this is also why I know I can continue to get through this, and this is what I deserve. Beautiful, long-lasting love, but it's still a challenge to like rewire what that means for me and accept that fully. Because there's some fearful avoidant traits that just come out, and it's so ingrained in the unconscious that it feels like it's just coming out of the blue, and then you're wondering, is it because we're not compatible? Is it just not a match? And you don't even know where it's coming from. It's just like, you know, that on and off. Because I always dated people who would reject me, and people who were more anxious or stuff, like my push would come instantly and I wouldn't even date them. I'm like fully turned off. I notice how this is coming up because now this is secure. This person is just there. I could write to them any time of the day. I could see them when I want. And it's like, okay, okay? And then sometimes there's this like kind of, I feel the pull, the push inside my head, but sometimes I also feel the pull. It's like, it's confusing. It's so confusing. I know, like, I understand the confusion that you go through. And this is an opportunity for you to write questions in the comments if there's stuff you want answered that I didn't talk about yet. Write them in the comments because I'm gonna be doing a part 2, so it's really a good opportunity for me to yeah, to do more of a Q&A in a way. But yeah, there's still a lot to uncover. I'm gonna reflect on this and give this video a like and subscribe to my channel if you don't want to miss the part 2. Yeah, this is where it ends. Okay, talk to you soon.